Hey everybody, I've completed grading of homework 1 and wanted to provide some feedback to the whole class, as some of these are individual comments I've given some of the assignments, but I found it's good to kind of share the high level theme of what I see in the homeworks, just in case maybe you didn't make that mistake in the first one, you don't make it in the second assignment and subsequent ones. So again, nice job across the board. For the first assignment, I graded incredibly generously, just so you can kind of get a feel for how I grade and what I'm looking for, give you some pretty specific feedback of maybe where you went wrong, but don't really take off a lot of points. Just know that when we moved into subsequent homeworks 2 and 3, I will definitely up the point deductions for some of those things I've talked about. So a couple of reminders. When you upload that homework, this really kind of helps me to expedite grading and get feedback back to you as quickly as possible. As you might imagine, some of these take a little bit of time to grade. You've put a lot of time into creating them, so I want to be sure I give you the feedback that you're here for. But some things you can do to help me with that. Be sure when you upload that homework assignment that you're giving me a .twbx file, not a .twb. The difference is when it's a .twbx, that gives me a data extract as well. So I can just double click on that file, open it up, it pairs your data up with the dashboards, and that way I don't have to go try to sync your data up and put it all together. Certainly something I can do, it just takes more time, slows down the overall grading process. The other thing, always be sure you export out an image of your dashboard, either a JPEG or a PNG, doesn't matter what, upload that as well. Okay. Also give me your data. Okay, so upload the data set. I like to go back and take a look at that and see what we're working with. The other thing is I noticed some of you zipped your assignment when you uploaded it. I get it if you've been in the business a while like me, it's kind of pounded into you, big files, you zip them so they're a little more efficient. Actually, Canvas has a mechanism that automatically zips files. So if you're putting 4, 5, 6 files up there, you don't need to zip it. Canvas does it for you. It seems counterintuitive, but when you zip it, upload a zip file, Canvas will then try and sometimes zip it again, and every once in a while corrupt a file. Not a huge deal, but it sometimes requires me coming back to you saying, hey, can you send me the files? It just didn't, it got corrupt. No big deal. So like I said, so don't worry about zipping it. Okay, onto your dashboards. A couple of themes I saw that I wanted to kind of talk about is you always want a dashboard title. Okay, so you all pretty much did a great job of chart titles. What does this chart mean? At the chart level, be sure those chart titles are descriptive. Okay, what are you showing me? Don't just say this is a tree map. Okay, tell me this is showing homicides in the 64156 zip code from 2002 to 2003, something like that. Very descriptive. And then also at the dashboard level, tell me what in the title, what the theme is, right? So what do those 3, 4 charts in that dashboard all culminate into? Okay, so maybe, example I just gave of showing homicides over a period of time. Maybe my dashboard level title is something like crime in the metro. Okay, so be sure you get that in there. Also, when you're putting together your dashboards, be sure that everything has enough room, right? So some of you had some tree maps or some packed bubble charts that you had so many data elements in there that Tableau auto sizes that, and if it can't display enough text, especially a measure, it'll just pull it out. So some of you had tree maps and packed bubbles that really didn't have any text in the bubbles or the boxes because there just simply wasn't enough room. So if you're in that situation, you need to rethink it, okay? The other thing on that vein I saw is some of you that did any type of XY chart. Okay, so if you had a horizontal bar, a vertical bar, a stacked bar, a scatter plot, anything like that, always be sure that all of your axis labels, XY axis labels, have plenty of room. Okay, be sure that they have room so that text doesn't get truncated. If you see those 3 little ellipsis points, that means that Tableau didn't have enough room and it truncated it. So some things you can do to help with that is you can reduce the font size of it within reason. You still need to be able to read it, but sometimes you can bump it down a couple points. That'll work. The other thing you can do is you can right-click on those axis labels and you can flip the orientation. Okay, so if it is using a horizontal orientation for the axis label, you can flip it to vertical, and sometimes that'll help a great deal as well. Okay. Other thing, legends. Legends are so very important, especially if you're using color, size, anything like that to label those charts. So the problem is if you throw 3 or 4 charts into a dashboard, you might notice, what does Tableau do with those legends? It throws them all in the upper right-hand corner of your dashboard. Suddenly, if I have 4 charts on my dashboard, I have 4 legends that are stacked up in the upper right-hand corner, and suddenly I, as the end consumer of this, is trying to figure out which legend goes with the chart that's in the lower left-hand corner. And if you've got a consistent color theme across your dashboard, you can get real confused real quick, okay? So 2 things you need to do. Number 1, look at each chart and ask yourself, do I need a legend? Okay, in some cases, the chart simply doesn't need a legend, so you can just right-click and say remove, and that legend goes away. If it's well labeled, oftentimes I'll remove that actual legend. I don't have to have it. If I do need it, I want to move that legend close to the chart that it supports. And in some cases, like if I've got a XY scatter plot chart, I can actually put it in the chart body if I've got some white space. So to do that, you'll just click on the legend and go down to floating, and then it enables you to move that wherever you want. So that, again, is another one of those useful skills that really helps, okay? The other thing I saw was use of white space. Okay, your goal is to be thoughtful about the space that you have, and if you've got extra white space in a dashboard, think about what can I do? Can I make the chart bigger? If I make it bigger, can I consume that white space? Or maybe I need to rethink it, bring in a whole other chart. But again, you've got your users, your viewers' attention. You want to captivate that as much as possible. So try and give them as much as they possibly can. But remember, be consistent, okay? So you want your charts to be fairly equally sized, okay? So I'm going to start to be more critical of that as well. If you're pulling in charts and you've got so many data points that I can't see anything on the chart, that's not really a good viz. So in the coming weeks, as I noted in some of your assignments, I'll be covering how we actually filter down data to eliminate some of those big data elements that are maybe consuming too much space. Okay, so again, you kind of have to think through, what is that message? What am I looking for? Okay. Lastly, you'll notice in the announcements thread, there's a pretty steady stream of stuff that I'm posting out there for you. And I know it can be a little bit of an overload. If you can't look at every one of them, by all means, that's okay. The intent is not that you read every single one of them. But the idea is, I have learned a lot of my visualization knowledge from looking at the work of others, okay? Not necessarily recreating it, just looking at designs that people do and seeing some of those thematic elements. Believe it or not, I love creating vizzes, but I'm not an overly creative person, so I draw a lot of my creativity off the work of others. So again, as you get time, hop out there into those announcements and take a look at what's out there. I also provide a lot of links in the course content as well. So how you decide to consume that's entirely up to you. Another thing you might consider is a few of the people that I follow. One example, Information is Beautiful. David McCandless, a really good visualization analyst, been at it for a long time. He even has an Instagram feed. So you can kind of intermingle your business and pleasure if that's your desire. I do that. You're not required to by any means, but I have some of those I pull into Twitter, some of them I pull into Instagram. So as I'm scrolling through and looking at my friend complain about politics, and then looking at my other buddy's new puppy, then I see a cool visualization that I want to learn how to recreate at some point. So again, a lot of different venues. I'm trying to give you different mediums where you can see some examples of what's out there. So again, really nice job on week 1. Again, I go at this from the expectation that many of you have either not created vizzes at all and or have maybe never used the Tableau tool. So this first week was meant to really be a learning experience, and I definitely felt like you all did that. So onward we go into week 2. So let me know if you have any questions, and specifically if any of my feedback in the homework isn't clear, please don't hesitate to reach out, and let's just talk through it. So have a great week.